Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you're doing fine. My name's Carl. Welcome to this webinar on behalf of us here at the TEFL Org. Who are we? We are a company that train people to become TEFL teachers. So, for example, I am a trainer here at TEFL Org. This weekend, I am doing a practical course for people here in Northern Ireland who want to become TEFL teachers. So they'll spend the weekend with me, and by the end of it, they will have a good understanding of what it is to become a TEFL teacher. Please say hello in the chat. Let us know where you are in the world. I can see some people, someone in from Iran. Hello, Amanj. Anya in Germany, David in Boston, Jacinta in Kenya, Diane in Ohio, Tamas in Budapest. Hello everyone, hello. Please let us know where you are in the world. Okay, so as I said, my name is Carl. I work as an online teacher of English as a foreign language. I've also worked abroad in many places, China, Thailand. I worked in Thailand. Where did that come from? It's because I was thinking about Thailand earlier. China, Vietnam. I've worked in Sri Lanka, Japan, Azerbaijan, Iraq. Just before COVID, I was working in Spain and Italy a lot. And now I work as a teacher trainer. I also work as an examiner of English. So today I'm going to talk a bit about how to become a teacher if you are a non-native speaker. And basically I'm going to talk a little bit about what you should do if you've already got one of our certificates and you want to apply for jobs, this kind of thing. So please, if you've got any questions at all, please do put it in the chat. Right, let's get going here, okay, with this one. So teaching English as a foreign language as a non-native speaker. Right. Now, I think I like to be honest in these webinars, and there's some things that I've got to sort of say at the start. And basically it's sort of some truths really about non-native speakers, okay? If you are a non-native speaker, then it is more difficult to find work than people who are a native speaker. In a minute, I'm going to talk a little bit about what a native speaker is, okay? But I want to be honest, I want to be upfront, and if you think of yourself as a non-native speaker, you might find it more difficult to get work than a native speaker. And it's an unfortunate situation because it's not actually true that native speakers are better teachers than non-native speakers. I've managed centres, I've done recruitment for language schools, and some of the best teachers I've ever had have been non-native speakers. So it's not really anything to do with ability as a teacher. It's sort of about things such as your passport and the rules from other countries, and also some very outdated thoughts that mean that people think that native speakers are better than non-native speakers. Okay, it's just not true, and none of the research says that. So it's not impossible for you to find work as a non-native speaker. It's not. It's more difficult than people who are native speakers. I do believe that, but it's definitely not impossible to find work as a non-native speaker. I've trained non-native speakers up who have gone abroad and worked, okay? Things have improved a lot in the time that I've been teaching in terms of companies and countries taking on more non-native speakers, okay? And I hope it is still improving, that as we go on, there's more and more non-native speakers being taken on by companies around the world. Passports are more of a barrier than ability and qualification. So a lot of the time, to go work abroad, you might find that some countries say we'll only take people in on a working visa who have passports from the UK, America, Australia, this kind of thing. So passports are the issue with some countries, not all countries. I'm going to talk a bit about countries that are good for non-native speakers to go and work in, as well as to teach online in a bit. But passport tends to be the issue more than the speaking ability. And as I said, some of the best teachers I have observed were non-native speakers. Okay, so don't think that it's really about ability and that non-native speakers aren't as good as native speakers at teaching, because that's just not true. Okay. Right, so I want to talk a little bit here about what is a native speaker. And as I said, please, if you've got any comments, any questions, please do put them in the chat. Okay. What is a native speaker? And it's not easy to define, to say what a native speaker is. Okay. So it's usually seen as someone who speaks a language from childhood. So if the first language that your parents were talking to you when you were a baby, when you were a child, that language that they talk to you is generally seen as your native language. So my mum and dad spoke to me in English. My native language is English. Okay, that is a general definition that it's seen as. But we sort of now go where we can see that someone with a high CEFR level, and that means a Common European Framework of Reference level. So if you grew up speaking Italian in your home, but you've learnt English to a really high level, C2 level of English, that is seen by some companies as a native speaker. So it might not be your first language, but you've managed to get your English to such a high level that companies go, do you know what? You are a native speaker. So that's also sort of something else to think about. Okay, if you're if you see yourself as a non-native speaker, but maybe your English is so good that actually companies will see you as a native speaker. Okay, and some companies, they sort of don't even think about the languages you speak. All they think about is the passport you have. So if you have dual nationality, you've got a British passport, and let's say you've got a Spanish passport, just for examples, okay, and you grew up speaking Spanish, your first language is Spanish, but you have a British passport, some companies will say, do you know what? You're a native speaker of English as well. So there's lots of different things to think about, okay? Finally, some companies, some countries, such as Japan sort of sometimes thinks like this, is that having a school or university qualification from an English speaking high school, university, is the same as your being a native speaker. So you might have grown up in Italy and at the age of 10 or 11 moved to America, let's say, and then you took your high school exams in English. Companies might say, do you know what? You're now a native speaker. So there are different ways of thinking about a native speaker. What does this mean though? Okay, me telling you this, okay, what does it mean? Is that if you see a job and it says native speaker only, and you think of yourself as not a native speaker, ask the companies. Email the company and say, what do you class as a native speaker? And they might say the language that your mum and dad spoke to you when you grew up. Okay, I mean, that's quite hard for them to prove and that kind of thing. That's the sort of thing I'd think about then. But they might say your university degree was delivered and you wrote your exams in English. Okay, so ask the companies. That's what I would think. Even if you think of yourself as a non-native speaker, ask the companies. If you see a job that you want, email them, and also go on the internet, go on Facebook, go on Google, and see if there's any non-native speakers that work there. Okay, so just have a think about it. Don't just automatically discount jobs where it says native speakers only. Don't. And the other thing to think about is it might not actually be your English level that's going to stop you getting that job. It might be the passport you have, and that's really quite tricky to fix. Okay, so just something to think about there. If you have a native level of English, can you prove it? You know, I'm at the moment learning Spanish. I'm terrible. But what's to stop me putting on my CV, I have a native level of Spanish? There's nothing to stop me doing it. I'll get caught out in the interview probably, or I'd get caught out in having to look at qualifications. If I could put on my CV, do you know what? I have a C2 or a C1 level of Spanish and I have this certificate to prove it. That looks so much better. And if you're emailing companies saying, do you know what? My mum and dad talked to me in Italian when I was growing up, but I've taken an IELTS test and I have IELTS 9, I have IELTS 8.5, here's my certificate, the company is more likely to say, whoa, wow, okay, well done, yeah, we'll take you on. So if you want to go, and I can see some questions about those tests, I'm going to get to them in a minute, okay? So if you want to then go work abroad, what I would say is the visa requirements differ for each country. Japan has different rules from China, which has different rules from Argentina, which has different rules from, I don't know, Southeast Asia. Okay. Every country has different visa requirements in terms of who can do it and what nationality you are when applying, and also different visa requirements in terms of having degrees and that kind of thing. The situations change a lot. So right now you're watching this and the information I'm about to give you is true at the moment, but a new government might come in Japan that change the rules. A new foreign office minister or home office minister might come in Korea who changes the rules. So all the time it's worth sort of looking and doing your research and sort of finding out. They change all the time. COVID changed a lot of things. So just be aware that things change in terms of who is eligible to go for what country, right? If I was a non-native speaker and I'd sort of got to like a dead end from applying for jobs in countries that I really want to go to, all right, I would start to look at countries such as Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. They tend to, especially Cambodia, be a bit more open to non-native speakers. So I remember working in Vietnam, and I had there was lots of people at the university I worked at whose first language was not English, but they'd got themselves a TEFL qualification. They'd proven their English level. They'd applied to the university. The university had taken on and sponsored their visas. They were living on the same amount of money, doing the same jobs as native speakers. Okay? So these are countries to look at. And I could go into lots of detail about Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam, but that's sort of a whole different webinar. I don't really want to go into individual countries. I just want to give people who are non-native speakers a general idea about which ones to apply for. Right. Oh, I've just realised I've not put in the right. I need one of those there. I'm so sorry. Terrible there. Let me go back to that one. Okay. Kazakhstan and Mongolia might be countries you never thought about. They want teachers. Kazakhstan, I get people on LinkedIn from Kazakhstan messaging me quite often asking me if I want to go work in Kazakhstan. They might be a country that you've not thought about going to. You might not have any idea at all about them. You might not want to go there in winter because it's freezing cold. I don't know. But they're countries that are worth looking at. Worth doing a bit of research, looking for jobs, putting into Google TEFL in Kazakhstan, TEFL in Mongolia, contacting the schools that you find, asking them if they're willing to take you on. Now, Japan. Japan is sort of a little bit interesting for a couple of reasons. They offer something called a working holiday visa. And the working holiday visa is sort of open to a certain number of countries, not open to all countries, but that can be a way of getting into Japan if you meet the requirements. And then once you're over there, you find a job. Okay. There's also been times with Japan where they don't really care what your first language is, as long as you've got a degree from an English speaking university. That's just something to think about if you sort of hit those requirements. Okay. Central and South America, good ones that are willing to take people on, maybe who aren't there already, are Costa Rica and Colombia. The others will take you on, but unfortunately you've sort of got to be there already for a lot of them. So it's quite rare, for example, that you see jobs advertised to go work in Argentina and they'll pay your airfare, they'll pay your like insurance, that kind of thing. But what they would want you is to already be there. So you're there in Buenos Aires, you've got your passport from India, for example, they might be able to take you on there. Again, you've got to do your research on this, but this is sort of areas that you want to sort of think about. Okay. The final sort of areas within the EU. Now, if you are outside the EU and you want to go work in Spain or you want to go work in France or Italy, it can be quite expensive to get the visas going. Okay. But if you're in Italy and your first language is Italian and you want to go work and you've got a TEFL certificate from us, you could go work in Spain pretty easily. Okay, so that's the sort of thing. If you're within the EU already, it's quite easy to move around to different countries. Okay, it's just something to think about there. All right. So the teaching online is the other option. Okay, if you want to get into TEFL, you want to teach English as a foreign language, you don't want to go abroad. You know, that's perfectly fine. Really legitimate, great thing. There are many companies that take on non-native speakers. There are many. Okay. And you might find that the wage is pretty good compared to the country where you're in yourself now. Okay, so have a little look around them and again, if you see a job and it says native speakers only, email them. Wait there, I have C2 level. Get involved, okay? Email them and see that thing. If you want to teach online, long term, setting up on your own is the best. If you're a non-native speaker, then if you want to, advertise yourself, as I'm going to take someone's name, George is there in the chat. George the English teacher, or George the business English teacher. I've done webinars about setting yourself up online, so it's worth looking at those. But long term, the best way to make a good guaranteed amount of money is to set yourself up on your own. Students, some care about native speakers, non-native speakers, but many just care about the qualification level of their teacher. Right? If you want to go teach online, we offer extra modules in terms of practical courses to help you stand out from the crowd. If I'm recruiting teachers and I've got a native speaker and a non-native speaker and they've both got the same level of qualifications, it's just crazy that unfortunately schools tend to take on the native speaker. But if I've got a native speaker and a non-native speaker, and the non-native speaker has also done lots of extra qualifications, lots of extra modules, as a recruiter, I'm probably more likely to take on the non-native speaker. That's my thought on it. Okay. Take your time. Now they'll ask you to apply. I'm talking about now. They'll ask you to make videos. They might ask you to do a trial lesson, all that kind of thing. Don't just do it in one take. Practice it a few times. Listen to yourself a few times. Practice your application videos and listen carefully at your accent. If you're a non-native speaker, your pronunciation might not be as perfect as you think it is. Okay? If you're from the UK, you've got different types of accents no matter where you talk around the UK. Alan, who's monitoring the chat, putting in the links, he's from Scotland, has a very different accent from me from London. Okay? You have to change your voice a bit to be a teacher. And if you're applying for jobs, you have to change your voice, have a teacher's voice. Okay? How do you stand out as a non-native speaker? Okay, so first of all, I think the most important way is quality of qualification. So if you have got a TEFL certificate from someone like us here at the TEFL Org, the certificate has been accredited. Our company has been accredited. That means it's been checked by other important educational organisations, not affiliated to us, not linked to us, not owned by us, have checked our qualifications to make sure that we are a good provider. And you will find companies out there that offer TEFL certificates. Check if they are a quality company, because recruiters look at the accreditation level of a TEFL certificate to make sure that the person in front of them applying for the job is a good quality teacher. Maybe think about doing some extra modules suited for the type of job you want. So if you want to teach kids, do an extra module in teaching kids. I've got a degree in TEFL. I've got a TEFL certificate, I've got a CELTA, I've got a Delta, I've got a Master's in English as a foreign language. Okay? Lots of qualifications, but I also have lots of extra add-on modules that I've been doing as well. You know, teachers are supposed to be all the time learning about their trade. So, you know, going to academic conferences, for examples, watching videos online, that kind of thing, really sort of showing that they are suitable for the job that they want to go to. Check the grammar of your check the grammar level of your applications. When I was recruiting, the amount of grammar mistakes I found in applications, job applications. And if you're a non-native speaker, don't give them that excuse to not give you an interview. Okay? Check your grammar, then get someone else to check it who you trust with a good level of English. Okay? Or put it through Microsoft Word, that kind of thing. Grammarly, I think, is another grammar checker. The reason why you should get someone else is because other people notice other people's grammar mistakes. Sometimes when you're typing, it's quite difficult to actually know you're making the grammar mistakes, because you actually look at it and think, do you know what, that looks right. Someone else will go, wow, you know, you've used the wrong preposition there, for example. Okay. Get experience. If you're new, if you're a non-native speaker, you've got no experience, work at volunteering. This week in our TEFL Org Facebook group, which is nothing to do with this page, it's like a chat group. If you put into Facebook TEFL Org, you'll find it, TEFL Org. I put in this week a charity that was really looking for TEFL teachers. Perfect way to get experience to volunteer. Okay. Can you teach your friends? If you within your group have got a really good level of English, you've got your TEFL certificate, you need experience, can you get half a dozen of your friends and teach them? Can you look locally? If you've not got any friends, can you advertise locally to find people near you that you can teach English to? It doesn't necessarily have to be people outside your own country, okay? You live in Poland, find people in Poland that want to learn English. Get that experience, then start applying for jobs in China, Vietnam, Japan, if you're thinking that that's where you want to go. Use your own experience as a tool. So I, for example, had a terrible French teacher who used to scare me. He used to bang down rulers near your hand if you made a grammar mistake, all this kind of thing. I learnt no good French. My French is terrible. And I always think I want to be the complete opposite of that teacher. Use your own experience. Think, what would a good teacher do? A good teacher would be friendly, would be nice, would be talkative, that kind of thing. Get that in there, all right? Prove your English ability. I can't say this enough. If you can prove that you have a good level of English, perfect. You're much more likely. Right. Final thoughts before I get onto your questions. And please, I can see some questions coming in. They're lovely. Please, any more. If you've got any more comments, George, I can see your comments in there. Thank you very much. You know, put them in there. Let me know if you agree, disagree with me, that kind of thing. Some final thoughts, right? In my experience of teacher training, a lot of non-native speakers give up quite easily. They get their TEFL certificate. They think, right, do you know what? I'm going to be on a beach in Thailand teaching within a couple of months. No, it takes time, even for native speakers. Even I once waited 2 years to get a job at one point. Okay, that was because I was looking for a very particular job. But it takes a long time for visas to go through. You have to wait for application periods to go through, all that kind of thing. Yeah. So don't give up easily. Yeah. If you want to go abroad, don't follow the crowd. So if I said to you, Japan, everyone thinks about Tokyo. Maybe do you want to go work in somewhere like Osaka, Kobe, Hokkaido? Beautiful cities, really nice cities. You can live really well. Big, massive cities. But if everybody wants to go work in Tokyo, you're putting yourself up against lots of people with experience, lots of people who are native speakers. Whereas there might be a school in Kobe that just can't get people to come to the city because nobody really wants to go there. Because everybody wants to go to Tokyo. Don't follow the crowd. get yourself to different parts. Spain, everybody wants to go to Barcelona, Madrid. Have you thought about going to Valencia, Malaga? Have you thought about going to not Rome in Italy? Have you thought about going to Naples, for example? Have you thought about going to Milan? Something like that. Don't follow the crowd. Find right. Do you know what? That's a big city in Thailand I've never heard of. I'm going to go work. I'm going to see if there's any language schools. Google language schools in, I can't think of a Thai city, Chiang Mai. Right, great. They're good. I'm going to send them an email. Oh, they do want someone. Perfect. They give me an interview. There we go. Don't under or overestimate your English ability. I get quite a few people go, do you know what? I'm a native speaker. And you read it and they're like, actually, do you know what? You're not. You think you are, but you're not. And also some people go, oh, my English is terrible. I could never teach. And they're speaking in perfect grammar, a lovely range of vocabulary. Get your English tested to see your real level, okay? You also might need to start by teaching jobs, levels or ages that you thought you didn't want to. When I was doing my first initial training, I was like, I'm not going to teach kids. Absolutely not. I'm not going to teach kids. But I kind of learned quite quickly that most of the jobs involve teaching kids. And that if I wanted to get work, you might need to teach kids. I was like, oh, do you know what? I really didn't want to teach beginners. I want to teach the high levels and have really nice academic debates. Not all the classes out there are high levels. Most of English classes are actually quite low level. Oh, do you know what? Business English? No, I hate business English. I don't want to teach business English. But there's jobs out there in business English. So start looking outside your comfort zone. Okay. Get a good qualification. If you don't have one of ours, TEFL Org qualifications, you know, that's okay. You're very welcome to this webinar. But is your qualification a good one? Make sure that you've got a good, accredited, well-documented qualification. Be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. Okay? It takes time, it takes time, it takes time. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to just read through some of these questions now. Okay, so thank you very much if you're all still listening. I really appreciate that. Right, let's get to the first question. What we got here? Al, hello. Al Mumin, is it? Yes. Mohammed, hello. Which test is suitable to test English proficiency? Right. The classic, the most well-known one is the IELTS test. And that is quite useful in terms of applying for universities, degrees, that kind of thing, if that's the route you're going to go down eventually. IELTS is seen as the number one. But I'm not saying you should only do IELTS. I also think there's good ones in Trinity. Trinity is a very good English test. Might suit you, your personality a bit more. Okay. You might be able to do the Duolingo test. It can be a bit cheaper. Could be done at home. But what you need to do, I would suggest, is contact the jobs that you see advertised that you want to do and ask them. Okay? All right? Say to them, look, will you accept, if I take a Duolingo test, will you accept that? They might say, no, do you know what? We want you to do a Trinity or an IELTS test. And there are other tests, not just those three. So I would start emailing companies that I sort of looked at and said, which ones do you accept? Okay. Lucio, what evidence? Well, basically just a certificate. Now, C2 level is really, really difficult, Lucio. Good luck with that. I would be a little bit worried if I was to take a test in English, whether I would get C2 level in necessarily things like the writing and the reading. So C2 level is really high. And you might find that C1 level is taken by companies to be native level. Okay. But basically, all you need to do is a certificate. How do you get tested for a C level TL? Well, basically, any test you do will have a link to the Common European Framework of Reference. So IELTS 9, you'll get a certificate. If you take the IELTS test, you get IELTS 8.5, you get IELTS 9. It will say on the certificate, or it will say on the website what level that is equivalent in the CEFR. Okay, and it's the same with Trinity, Duolingo. All the tests will be able to give you equivalence. Okay, so just look on websites, that kind of thing here. Kelvin, no, companies don't accept Duolingo or IELTS only. No. There's a whole range of English tests. There's the Pearson Academic. There's the Trinity test. There's an Aptis test. There's lots of different ones out there. It doesn't have to be IELTS or Duolingo. Do some research yourself, Kelvin, and see what exams are easy to take in Kenya. Which ones are cheap in Kenya, maybe. Okay. Giovan Battista. What an amazing name. Wouldn't the mere fact you've got experience teaching, being a Cambridge oral examiner, be proof enough of your language level? Hopefully. If you like employing native speakers only as a marketing thing, am I wrong? Yeah, Giovan Battista, you've got loads of qualifications. I don't think that would be a problem. It is, unfortunately, a marketing thing as well. There are parts of Asia, like, for example, I've been told I'm too ugly to be an English teacher in Asia. Okay, you know, they might be right that I'm quite ugly, but am I too ugly to be a teacher? Absolutely not. Quite often schools want to have a very Western looking person, and it doesn't really matter about their teaching ability. It's horrible. It's a terrible thing, but unfortunately it does happen. Giovan, I think you, though, look at all those qualifications. I think a school would be mad not to take you on. And if a school doesn't want to take you on with those sorts of qualifications, I wouldn't want to work for them myself. Okay. Nick T. Hello. When you say a degree from an English speaking university, it doesn't have to be any degree is fine. You can have a degree in. So, for example, some companies like people to have business degrees. What's that got to do with teaching? Absolutely not. But it does mean that you can help teach business English, for example. Does not have to be a degree in English. It more matters where your degree comes from. Well, no, actually, it doesn't. That's not true. Well, it does. Right. I've talked myself into a cul-de-sac here. If you did your degree in an English-speaking university, doesn't have to be in an English-speaking country, but in an English-speaking university. So, for example, I know Malaysia has universities where they deliver everything in English. That could be seen by a company, a recruiting company, as a degree from an English-speaking university. That could prove that you are a native level of English. And so really that sort of matters. But if your degree wasn't delivered in English, but you've then gone and taken an English test, that would be fine. The subject doesn't matter. Generally, the location doesn't matter. Any degree will be fine, will do. Did I really explain that badly? I think I did. I've only been teaching 20 years. Sandra. That's like quite a northern English way of saying Sandra. I've got an auntie Sandra. How do you find out what level you are? So C2 is, right, if you type into Google, other search engines are available, what can a C2 level speaker do? You'll find lots of information about that. Okay, and it tends to be things like a C2 level speaker can debate in English, can speak English without making many grammar mistakes. Those sort of phrases, can do phrases. Whereas like an A1 or a A0 level is speaker can talk about their jobs, that kind of thing. And then it goes up from A0, A1, B1, B2, all the way up to C2. Okay, Google's your friend there, Sandra. Stan, why has it become more difficult to find a job as a TEFL teacher? Has it? I'm not sure it has, Stan. Why? I'm not sure why it has. Now, right, the during COVID, when COVID sort of was at its major point where everyone in the world was really worried, and you know, big chunks of the world were on lockdown, there was mad shift there with TEFL. From people working in schools all of a sudden needed to teach online. People like me who'd been teaching online for years were and had been told, oh no, you can't teach online. No, it will never catch on, this online teaching. Why? I don't know why you're trying to do online teaching. All of a sudden, we're being contacted by universities saying, help us, we've got to be put on, we've got to do online. You've been teaching online, please help us. So there was this mad shift of jobs. Loads of jobs were quickly available in online teaching. However, now COVID has gone away, and you'll be able to make your own opinion about whether that has gone away or not. The shift has sort of changed, and people are working back in schools, so there's less online jobs. People that took up online teaching because they lost their sort of real job have decided, you know what, online teaching is fantastic, I'm going to carry it on. So it's not really that there's less jobs out there, but it's just there's been lots of shifts and lots of people did get into it, Stan. I would still recommend you become a TEFL teacher if that's what you want to do. Okay. Rosa, what kind of TEFL course should a non-native? The 120 hours is a great course. Everybody should have as a minimum the 120 hour course. If you go onto our website, and I'm sure Alan's put the link into the chat for us. If you go onto TEFL.org, you'll find a bit at the top saying courses. You click on that, have a scroll through, find the 120 hour. That is the appropriate one. Native speakers should take that. Non-native speakers should take that. It really doesn't matter what your first language is. Okay. Andrea, there you go. You're up north in Spain. There are lots of English schools there. Yeah, exactly. Northern Spain, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Lots of towns, lots of school. When I pre-COVID used to work out in Spain. I used to go into Spain sort of temporarily. Sorry, cities, just go there for a week, 2 weeks, that kind of thing. That was the job that I had back then. So many schools would ask me, do you know anyone that wants to come and work here? And I'd have to unfortunately sort of say, no, I'm really sorry, I don't. I'd go to Madrid or Barcelona. Oh, I can't find work in Madrid or Barcelona. Of course you can't, because everybody wants to work in Madrid or Barcelona. Dijon, never been there myself. I'm sure it's beautiful, Andrea. Get yourselves out there. Laura, sorry, you've joined late. No need to be sorry. Spanish, congratulations. So you would need to be able to do your TEFL course with us. You need to have a certain level of English. Yeah. All the details are on our website. Okay, so if you go on our courses, if you look at our section there, it will tell you which qualification you need in order to show that. Okay, send us a message, Laura, and tell us about what qualifications you have already, and we'll be able to tell you if you can start the TEFL course with that qualification. Okay. What an amazing name next. Yes again, or Young Talks. I'm really sorry if I said that wrong, but it's an amazing name. You're thinking of volunteering in the place you're planning to go. Amazing. Right, so let's, for example, say you want to go to Cambodia. You're thinking of going to Cambodia and volunteering to then find full-time work. I mean, that's I've had crazier plans in my life. Yes, again. What I would do first, though, is I would check that there is work available in the city you're going to go to volunteer. So, check in Phnom Penh if there's schools currently recruiting teachers in Phnom Penh. That's just Cambodia. I'm talking about anywhere in the world, wherever you want to go. Before I went out there volunteering, because the last thing I'd want to do would be to, do you know what? I'm going to go to Cambodia. I've got my flight. I've paid all my stuff. I'm volunteered in Cambodia. Oh, actually, do you know what? Schools here aren't recruiting at the moment. I would put some research in first. Yesugun. Great name. Mariam, hi. You've written me a nice little essay. Is there any way to put your experience teaching your friends or people around you, for example, in your resume? Why not? Why would you not do it? I would say I would put something in my work experience saying I have taught 10... Where are you, Mariam? That sounds is it sort of an Arabic name, Mariam? Yeah. Turkish, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I've taught 10 students in Istanbul and I've got them through their Duolingo test, whatever it might be. Is there any way to prove it? So that's the difficulty, is proving it. I think it's more for helping one to gain experience and confidence. I do agree. Right. What I would say though is if you've done something like this and you apply for jobs and you put it in your CV, as someone reading CVs and resumes, I'd be quite interested. I'd be going, do you know what? They're trying here. This person is making an effort to learn how to be a good teacher. And then I'd maybe think, right, do you know what? I'm going to give them an interview. And then all of a sudden, in the interview, you've got stuff to talk about, Mariam. Whereas someone who's never taught before, all they can really talk about is what they learned on their qualification. If you've got a bit of experience just from teaching your friends, you might not have taken any money. You might take money, I don't know. Depends how much you like your friends. If you can start talking about that in the interview, stuff you can go about on there for sure. Heidi, hi. Your university, yes, your university wasn't an English speaking university, but most of your textbooks were in English and I wrote your thesis in English. Interesting. Maybe. Were your courses delivered in English? That's an interesting one. I don't know. Alan, do you know how to answer that one? I'm not quite sure. I see, again, that's the sort of thing that I would contact the company and I would say, look, this is my situation. Do I count as a native speaker? And they might say, no, I'm sorry. They might say, woohoo, yes, fantastic. That sort of thing, you could probably get some work in academic English as well. I reckon that would work for you, Heidi. Atifa, what's the salary for non-native speakers? Right, so it's a really good question. Now, salaries are very, very variable by country and are very variable by location within that country. That's the first thing I would say to you. Okay. I've said this story before, but my wife, who's a TEFL teacher, worked in Mexico for a while. She worked on a wage that I thought was absolutely tiny. She said that was plenty to live on. Okay. So the wage really does differ. Don't let salary be your reason to be an English teacher. That's the other thing I would say to you, Atif. You're a teacher. You're not going to go work in the oil industry. Okay? Right. The next thing I would say to you is if you go and work for a school where they're paying the non-native speakers different from the native speakers, I would not go work for them. That is a terrible company. Yeah? So I would definitely in interviews, I would definitely in, not even maybe before the interviews, in email chat, I would say to them, can you tell me about your pay scales for teachers? Something like that, I would say. Okay. I would definitely not go and work for a company where they pay non-native speakers less than native speakers. No. Yesugan, you're a non-native. Lol, what? Don't laugh out loud at non-natives. Oh, jeez. You're thinking of taking the IBT TOEFL. Is that fine? Is that the TOEFL test? I think it is. Yeah, I think that would be fine. Yeah, for sure. That would be good. I think that's a good one. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Andrea, your father's from Sri Lanka. Okay. You lived in Scotland for 8 years and you studied an MA in interpreting and translating it. Yeah, I would definitely. Yeah, an MA in interpreting and translating. Yeah. Did you? Yeah, you studied in Scotland. I think they speak English in Scotland. Alan's in Scotland. Alan, do you speak English in Scotland? It's definitely a form of English. That's a joke before everybody gets annoyed. Yes, native speaker. I would take you on. If you've got a TEFL certificate, I would take you on, Andrea. Good luck. Oh, Andrea, is it? Might be Andrea. JPC. Are there schools who seek degrees of engineering university to teach them English there? So they don't. So you could definitely go. Right. So there are universities, for example, in Asia, East Asia, which are engineering universities. Right. Within an engineering university, you don't get many students also wanting to learn English. You'll get some, but not loads. Most, in my experience, engineering university students, they just want to study engineering. They've no call at all to do languages as well. However, there are universities that make people make their students also study English no matter what degree they're doing. You though might be pretty, I would definitely sort of, the Middle East, yes. I've seen jobs advertised in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, that sort of region where they are engineering universities teaching. So that might be something to look at, JPC. Yeah, the Middle East. Good luck. Right, I've got to go through these questions quickly. Sorry, I'm just enjoying my voice too much. Oh yes, Maria, you're perfect there. Get yourself jobs. Celta and the Delta. Yeah. Next question. Go for it. Well done. Really good. CAE C1 Advanced. Right. So look, everybody, don't tell me your level of English because I can't decide for one company whether you count. What you would need to do is find a job that you like and a job you want. Email that company and say, I've got this. Does that count for me as a native speaker? And they might say yes, but you've also got to have a British passport. Every country is different. Okay. Sonia, your experience, let your employer understand that your own learning experience is a valuable strength. There you go. Great. Yes, exactly. Yeah, definitely use your own experience. You've got a problem with prepositions. Teach yourself how to be better at prepositions. Put that in your CV. That's the sort of thing that you can, well, not necessarily CV, but that could definitely be something that you put in like the cover letter, bring up in an interview, that kind of thing. All right. Eleonora, hi. How do I know if everything's good enough to teach? Right. So, why does it stop me from starting a teaching career? I need more questions. I've got so many questions for you there, Eleanor. I bet your English is better than you think it is. Yeah. And I bet if you took it, you'd have to take a test really, improve your English level. Okay. I would also suggest right now, don't just go, if you think all right, I'm going to go take an English test, don't just book the English test without planning for it, without looking at without doing some practice papers. Okay. IELTS, I know native speakers that have a problem with taking the IELTS test. Plan it, teach yourself. Okay. Right. Sorry, I'm going to rattle through these last couple ones quickly before I go in about 5 minutes. Hello again, Yesugan. You plan to go to Argentina? You sound excited. You've done your research. You sound even more excited. You're thinking of volunteering for a bit before you hunt for a job because you want to require a bit of experience. Okay, great. Have you got the money though? This is what I would say to you. If you go to Argentina and you don't find work, is that going to be crazy difficult for you? I just personally want a bit more security before I go somewhere. But you might have already researched this all yourself. Good for you. JPC. Yes. If you have official teaching experience in your own country, does this help to find a job? Yes, it does. What is the best way to prove to recruiters that? Well, what do companies do when they recruit someone? They look at your CV. They think, right, okay, this person's great. I want them. But do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to contact references. I'm going to make sure that you have actually got all this experience. Yeah. You know, you don't need to show in the CV that you have this experience. They will ask you about it in the interview, and it's pretty obvious when people are lying on their CVs. Okay. The other thing is that you pass the interview. The interview's great. The recruiters contact your referee. You can say yes. Do you know what? That person's great. You don't need to prove it. If you've done it, put it on your CV. Be truthful. They'll ask you questions about it, and they will also check it themselves. Okay, absolutely fine there, JPC. Thank you, everybody. If you're still with us, thank you very much. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Please, if you've got any other questions, you can put them. The best thing to do is to send us a message. So go to our website, TEFL.org. Bottom right corner, there's a send message function. On Facebook, you can send us a message through the Facebook page. There's a Facebook group where you can chat. I monitor that. Alan monitors that. Lots of people get involved in that. Other teachers who've got nothing to do with us at TEFL Org love chatting about that sort of thing. Please, if you like this webinar, give it a like and all that sort of thing. I'm very vain. I do like to know how many people like or hated or laughed at this webinar. I just need love. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.